Well, April 14th, also known as 414, is unofficially Milwaukee Day in Wisconsin. It is a day to honor our area code, 414, and to celebrate. We are all going to go all out with Milwaukee in this new book.
I love it. The Milwaukee Anthology is a collection of poems and non-fictional stories about Milwaukee sites and stories, including a story about the Greek Freak, Milwaukee's newest star, who we love. And I love the Sports Illustrated cover that talked about coaching a unicorn. So joining us on the yellow couch is Justin Kern, editor of the Milwaukee Anthology, along with Robert Earl Thomas, one of the many poets and contributors to this great book. Wonderful to see you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Happy
Milwaukee Day.
Yes, happy Milwaukee Day to you as well.
Yeah, so what makes this different? What makes it cool, in your opinions?
I mean, when I was putting together the book, the real goal was to have a collection of lesser heard and kind of necessary stories, so that you hear about Milwaukee outside of the kind of tropes of it being a place just with motorcycles and cheese curds and stuff. That, you know, we've got a lot of culture, a lot of diversity, and a lot of great voices, and hopefully this book kind of aims to, this book pulls a lot of those voices together.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing when I was just getting prepped on this, is the fact that all the different communities, and it's the people and the different communities that really make up our story. And Robert, let's talk about your involvement with this project. Why did you get involved?
Well, Justin knew that I had some life experience at 7 Mile Fair on the outskirts of southern Milwaukee, and like from the time of very young boyhood up until now, I still visit there like several times a year just because it's a fun experience, the comings and goings on of the place. And he asked me if I could write something for the anthology, and I did, and it was a good avenue through which I could sort of tell the story of my life, because I have some of my very first memories actually were at 7 Mile Fair. And
give us a nugget, if you would. What's
sure.
in what you wrote for the book?
Well, actually, one of my first memories, just in general in life, is I must have been about 3 or 4, and my parents got my first dog there. He was sat in the middle of like just a dormant car tire lying in the gravel, and he was just sitting in the middle, and he was a puppy, and that was one of my first memories in bringing
cool.
him. Yeah.
It's not just a flea market, it's
Right.
a cultural
Right.
experience.
Oh,
Yeah, I believe
It's
that.
the dogs that come with the flea.
Right.
Yeah. Justin, when you were pulling this whole thing together, who did you reach out to? How do you do something like that?
Well, there was an open call for submissions, and there was an incredible range of people that responded to that. I mean, you mentioned the neighborhoods. There were so many more neighborhood voices than I had anticipated, and that we frankly had room for. But I did reach out to a couple of people that I knew, super talented artists like Robert, some people that I knew, as well as some people I wanted to know, James Causey at the Journal Sentinel, and just, you know, tried to expand the number of voices as widely as possible, just to give people, especially with so much attention between the Bucks and the Brewers and the DNC coming up, so many people are going to be paying attention to Milwaukee. So the hope is that, you know, this book gives them a chance to see and learn about our city in maybe a different way.
And there's such a wonderful variety in your contributors. I know you, Dasha Kelly is one who's part of it. She's been on the show many times before. I love what she does, especially with young people and encouraging literature and all those things, and the spoken part of it. Michael Perry, who's been on, who's hilarious and written some really fascinating books. They're very diverse, but also the stories. And I like the wording you use of sort of like stories that must be told, but are perhaps lesser known.
Yeah, I think, you know, there are no end to great writers that are doing like the historical looks at our city, the John Gerdas and that type of person. But, you know, I wanted it to be a thing where there was known writers like some of the folks you mentioned, but also some people that other people might not know. Ma Vu, who is like a Hmong pop star in Wausau, writes a really great story about Hmong New Year in Milwaukee. And it's just kind of a thing that you know, I like the idea that, you know, I'd get to be a spectator, even as a reader, to be at the Hmong New Year and kind of see the kind of celebration that's happening there. And that's happening right in our own city.
Right, expand our minds about what this city is really about. Why do you think the book is important for the city and for the people?
It's just an opportunity to share all these voices, but, you know, my hope is that it's the kind of thing where people read it and want to explore more. They want to go into the different neighborhoods that maybe they have an idea about, but maybe it changes their mind a little bit, or gets them curious about Sherman Park, gets them curious about Clark Square, the South Side, North Side, wherever it might be. So that's my hope, is that it's the kind of thing that brings people together to have a conversation about a wider civic pride about Milwaukee as kind of a wider, whole, encompassing place.
Was there a challenge to putting all these contributions together?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I wanted to make sure was that we didn't try to have a book that graced the city or that made it this like perfect thing. There's no bow on top of it. This isn't there's not just
marketing. It's
not a marketing thing. There's not some one theme that kind of sums it all up, but that it's this almost scattershot opportunity to learn a lot about Milwaukee in a lot of different ways.
Cool.
So, Robert, I'm sure that you meet a lot of people. If you have to talk about the city, what do you say to them?
Well, it's as you can imagine, it's been formative in my development just as a person. I can't imagine how differently I would have wound up turning into an adult or a man if I were from another part of the country. And I feel good about the way I've turned out, like the characteristics that the city has sort of chiseled into me over the years.
I like the way you put that. And I like that it's real. And I think that's what you're saying. It's a real look. It's not something that's a marketing tool, but something that's real. And I love that. You've got 2 book events, one today.
Yep.
Will people have the opportunity to not only buy the book, but also meet you, ask questions, find out more?
Robert and a few other people doing some readings at Boswell. And that's today, Milwaukee Day. And then on the 24th, Dasha is hosting an event at her new place called The Retreat. There'll be some other authors reading there and kind of more of a community conversation. But it'll be for sale at online, and I'll find local bookstores everywhere.
Wonderful. Today at 3 p.m. at Boswell Book Company on Downer, some great readings. And then, as you mentioned, Wednesday, April 24th at The Retreat. Dasha will be there, you mentioned. And people can go to beltpublishing.com also to learn more and to find out how to purchase their own copy. Great to see you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Happy 414.
Happy 414.